okay. And so he hobbles down off the table, and him and I walk to the library, and he's like, the library would be where you would have your first kiss. And I was like, I knew you were going to say that. Like, I figured that's why you took me here. He's like, you knew? And I'm like, yeah, I can read minds. He's like, you can? What am I thinking right now? I'm not going to tell you, like playing a little cutesy game with him. He was like, tell me. And I'm like, no. He's like, please tell me. I'm like, okay, are we playing like 20 questions or something? And he was like, let's play 20 questions. And I was like, okay. He was like, is it something you do? I said, no. He's like, is it something I do? I said, yeah. He's like, is it something we do together? Maybe? He's like, this is a yes or no game. There are no maybes. And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, is it kissing? And I was like, yeah, I know that's what you're thinking. He's like, do you wanna? I said, no. Like, at this point now I'm like shy and I'm confused because I know he's not in a good state of mind. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I don't want to. Like, this is not how I pictured this happening. And he's like, what if I just do this? And then he pulls me in closer and he kisses me. At the time, what I was feeling was bliss. I was like, this is my first kiss. This is awesome. This boy is cute. He has everything going for him. Yeah, he might not all be here, but this is amazing. Like, I really enjoy this. Like, this was my first time kissing. This is what I felt. This is probably what all of y'all felt with your first kiss. And so, like, we part. And he's like, can we do it again? And I'm like, no, that was good. And he does it again. And I'm like, okay. So I like back off him. And I'm like, no, like, I'm done. And he's like kind of like out of it. And he like lays his head on my shoulder. And I'm like, okay, like, this is awkward now. Cause now I'm nervous. Like, the butterflies are all there, but I'm really nervous. Cause I'm like, did other people see me do that? Did anybody catch us doing that? Like, am I being pranked? Is this like bunch of different things going on in my mind because I couldn't believe it happened to me, and now I was being shy because I was like, that's something you do in secret, not in public, because that's how I was. That's how I was molded. So I'm basically coming off of this high, and so he's running his mouth, and the first thing he starts talking about is his ex-girlfriends. I'm like, really? He's like, you're a really good kisser. You're like top 2 of the 3 girls I've kissed. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm a good kisser and I'm like top 2 in your book. That's pretty awesome. Also, now thinking back to it, I'm like, why is that the first thing he started talking about after we kissed? But then he started like rambling on about more stuff. And I was like, man, it's getting kind of late. You should like walk me back to my room. And he's like, but your hallway's so long. And I'm like, well, like, I have to go back to my room at some point. He was like, okay, we'll go. So he walked me back to my room. And then that was basically that night. And then the next night I saw him again and we were playing in the arcade and we were playing the air hockey thing. And he was like, all right, bet. He's like, all right, bet time. Like, if I win, you have to give me your number. And I was like, all right, bet. If I win, you have to kiss me. Because now I'm confident. Now I'm like, he likes me. He's kissed me once. He's sober right now. All right, let's do this. So he purposefully let me win. And I was like, you're sneaky. And he was like, and so, yeah, we kissed and everything again. And then I started taking I wanted to take pictures of us. So I was like, hey, like, pose cute. And so he took a couple of pictures and he looked at my phone and he's like, I look ugly. And he deletes all the pictures that we just took. And this is at the point where iPhone didn't have the recently deleted folder, so I couldn't go back and get them. And I'm like, I didn't care if you looked ugly. Like, I wanted to go back home and be like, this is the guy who I kissed on the cruise. But no, so he deletes them all. And so I'm like, okay. So later in the night, I'm like, please, can we take a picture? And he was like, no, like, I don't look good in pictures. I'm like, please, like, I need proof that this happened. Like, this is not just a story. I need proof we had pictures together. Like, we did things together. So I finally, like, convinced him to take a picture with me. And I know he didn't enjoy it, but, like, I treasured that picture. We were, like, saying our goodbyes. Like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you too. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe we can see each other sometime. Blah, blah, blah. And then, like, we eventually had to part ways because next day we were both going home to our respective places. And then, so I sleep, wake up the next day, and it's a traveling day back home, and like I'm sitting by my phone this close to my face, waiting for that text message because he has my number, I don't have his. So like the whole day. And then eventually he didn't text me, and I was very sad because I was like, oh no, like this wasn't a forever thing. And it made me kind of sad because I was like, I really had a good time with him, and even if it didn't end up like being something eventually, I wouldn't have been opposed to like him being my friend. Because I didn't mention this before. I mentioned it before, but I didn't go too in detail about it. But he mentioned that he was a criminal justice major, and he was like, oh yeah, you should come to my school and do criminal justice with me. I think you'll like it. I think you'll be great, blah, blah, blah. And it really started getting me thinking from that point forward, like maybe criminal justice is something like I want to do potentially. And that's actually what I majored in, is criminal justice. So that's why I think this story is kind of like a big like starter to the snowball that like changed my life and made me who I am. I took a lot of what he did and said to heart because I thought he was really cool, and he was really someone I like truly liked. And so his interests kind of like stuck to me. But also I'm very interested in criminal justice. I love it. My mom is a criminal justice major, and I was like basically destined to do that. So, but he's the one that more influenced than my mom influenced me. So that's why it's such a big deal to me that this story happened. But so like no text message, no nothing. And so I go to try and find him on Facebook. And so I see his picture and I add him as a friend first, and then I click hit and I like stalk his profile, and I scroll down. I start seeing pictures of him with a girl. Then I go to his biography and everything, and he's in a relationship. He is in a relationship already. Like not ex, not this, not that. He is actively in a relationship. And it hadn't even been that long. And I hadn't even heard the girl's name before. Sally. I didn't know who Sally was. At that, I broke down in tears. As soon as I saw that, broke down in tears. Because at this point, my mom knew who he was. And she had taken like sneaky pictures of me and him. But I broke down crying. Not because I was like sad that he couldn't be mine. I was more sad for the girl because I had just did all this with her boyfriend, and I didn't know because he never told me. His cousin never told me. His brother never told me. Never told me anything. I was so sad for her. I was so sad for her. So my first instinct was trying to add her on Facebook. And of course she immediately blocked me. So I had to go about it a different way. So I had one of my friends unfollow me on Instagram, and then she added Sally on Instagram. And she also added Joe on Instagram just to see what happened. And so Joe added her first, and then Sally added her later. And my friend messaged Sally and was like, hey, this is such and such. I'm Bailey's friend. She wants to tell you the real story of what happened. And so a couple of days later, Sally unblocked me and then sent me a message like, hey, like, I will listen to your story. I'm like, yes, like, I will tell you everything. I will be 100% truthful and honest. And I told Sally everything that happened, like, more in detail than what I'm telling you right now. But I didn't leave anything out. and she was like, Bailey, I feel really bad for you. She's like, I'm so sorry he had to be the person, like, that was your first kiss. Sally said that he was feeding her lies about how I was like this stalker girl who was very like awkward and like always would try to find him and hang out with him, and the only reason he'd hang out with me was because he felt bad for me. And that really hurt, because before like everything had happened, I was like, he thinks like I'm cute, he thinks I'm personable, he thinks I'm this, he's helping me like come out of my shell. And as soon as she said that, Joe said that about me, everything went back in that shell. All my insecurities, everything started to show as soon as she said that. And I was like, okay, like that's how he really thought of me as. So that's what had happened with her. And honestly, to this day, I'm still Sally's friend on Facebook. Like, I still see her stuff and like her posts. But Joe was never my friend on Facebook. I'm pretty sure he still has me blocked on everything. I don't really think about him anymore. When I think about my first kiss, like, I'm like, oh yeah, like, that was a thing. First kisses are a thing, and it was with that loser. From that day forward, I was still more, maybe even more so, like, the sheltered, like, to myself kind of person, because I was so traumatized by this situation. And it's not me talking about it, it doesn't seem that traumatizing to little 18-year-old me that had never had her first kiss, didn't really engage with boys that often, and this is how I had to, like, this is how it had to happen to me, was so traumatizing. And I'm pretty sure I thought about it for a really long time. But again, I think this is a really important like story to tell. So that's basically how the snowball started. And from that day forward, like, every guy I met, whether it had been on a cruise, been in real life, been off of Tinder, Bumble, all these, I stalked their profile so hard because I was so scared to find another guy with a girlfriend. I just thought he was a single guy and he was looking to have fun on a cruise. Also, side note, Sally told me this straight up. She was like, I'm pretty sure the reason he wanted you to drink so bad is so he could get you drunk and take you back to his room. I was like, that's so disgusting. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that that's probably what he wanted to happen. He wanted to get me into an unconscious state so he could do whatever. And then I probably wouldn't have remembered it. And then he could have blamed, oh yeah, she was drinking the whole time. She's like, it makes me sick to think about it. But I'm a smart girl sometimes, okay? The story is kind of, because I wasn't attached to Joe too much over the years. I was more attached to like the story and what happened. But over the course of these like videos and me talking about it, I start gaining like real attachments to some of these people, and they get like more in depth and more my emotions toward it, and then their emotions toward it. So it should be interesting to see how this goes. But if you have heard me talk about this story before and you have sat through this long and listened to me tell it again, thank you so much. But if this is your first time hearing it and you think you have like a lot of similarities, or you want to know more about my experience about this and everything, please like send me a message. I'll leave my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle below, and you can like send me messages and ask me like, hey, like, what about this? What about that? I have a similar story. And I will answer, because I love like learning about people's experiences. I love telling my experiences. So I really hope that this helped you, or you were at least a little bit entertained by what I had to say. But I'm so glad to see where this goes, and I'm so glad you sat here and listened. Thank you. Bye.